Right, joining us now is business expert and publisher of Business AM, Philip Isiakpo, and Arise analyst, Dr. Sam Amadi. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us on Newsnight tonight. Well, I'd like to get your thoughts, Philip, on this unveiling of the Naira by the new Naira by Mr. President, and the statement coming from Godwin Emefiele, the CBN governor, saying that this new currency cannot be counterfeited. Quite interesting. What exactly, how much value does this redesigning of the Naira bring to the economy?
It brings quite a lot of value, value in the sense that this is a currency. I mean, the denominations have been on for longer, much longer than they should have. You know, I think the CBN did say that they've been around for more than 20 years or so, and typically you expect that the redesign of currencies will happen every 5-8 years, and it's a shame really that this is just happening now. But the economy has suffered quite a lot as a result of this, because I'm sure when they came out, they did talk about how much money was out there, not in the banking system, but just in circulation. I think they were talking about 80% of the currency in circulation being outside the banking system. What that actually means is that the central bank does not have full control, or did not have full control, if it had 80% of currency in circulation outside the banking system. For any central bank to be in charge of currency, it must have a full grasp of what currency it has in circulation. So it's a nice thing. I mean, it's good that this has happened now. I mean, this was supposed to happen later than now, but they brought this forward. Apparently, they must have a reason for doing this, and we just look ahead to see what unfolds as the new currency gets into circulation.
Well, thanks very much, Philip. Let me turn to Arise analyst, Associate Professor Sam Amadi here. When you look at the cost of printing these new currencies, the expectations were so high until the unveiling today, which was brought forward and the rest. You want to put the cost of the redesign? Can Nigeria, with its thriving economy at this time, afford periodically to be redesigning its currency, because we want to check inflation, because we want to check the currency in circulation, 2.7 trillion naira, and 80% of that outside the banking sector?
Well, I think first, let's start with the known. In 2020, the central bank spent about 56 million printing currency.
Dollars.
56 million naira, actually, not dollars. But we don't know how much. They didn't do a total, they didn't cancel the currency, just print it. We don't know how much it spent this. Now, the first argument for this change is counterfeiting. Nigeria has, not to compared to the world, we have about, in 2020 again, by the currency report of the central bank shows that I think about 67,265 pieces of counterfeit to the tune of 56 point something million. So the currency that was counterfeited. That was the drop from 84 million in 2019. But then if you look at it, it's about, we have less than, in terms of percentage, far less. So the standard counterfeit to a million is 100 counterfeit to a million. We have almost less than, by 2020 it was 13 pieces to a million. So in essence, yes, counterfeiting is a serious issue, but not compared to the dollar or some other standard currency. The other arguments around currency outside the sector, which is true that 80% of currency circulates outside the official financial sector. And that goes to both some structural problem with Nigeria economy, how we make money, who gets these funds, and of course the fact that we flaunt the money laundering laws that prohibit massive cash movement and cash transactions. So one can argue from a macroeconomic point of view, this change will have much to do with whether control inflation. But arguably, it can actually raise inflation to the extent that people who have this old currency can do quick purchase, emergency purchase building, purchase houses, that could drive inflation. So
here they're doing.
Okay, and also it actually affected foreign exchange at some point when people moved in to buy the dollar up. The real driver here is if this change results in more security, and I agree with the central bank governor that this new currency probably will make it difficult to counterfeit. The notion that it's not, we can't ever, is not true, because look, if you photocopy it, if you use Biro, whatever you use to make a false copy of this and people accept it, you know, in ignorance, is a counterfeit. But these features make it much more secure, difficult for us to counterfeit this now. And if that's what the savings is all about, if you balance with the cost of this transaction, how much do we spend to print it? You can sit back and say, like Chris asked, whether this is a good use of money. But in terms of helping to keep get the bad money into the system, kidnappers or criminals who keep money, maybe you run up to this election. That's a collateral value. But in real economic impact in terms of maybe inflation, driving down inflation, or in terms of improving, you know, that serious economic indicator, there are no evidence to suggest this will do it, and may not. And if it's not managed well in terms of enabling people to dispose, to change this currency, maybe, then that's where you have other, you know, unintended consequence that people may be stuck with funds that probably will no longer be legal tender. And that's why the CBN has probably asked the banks to expand period of service to allow people who genuinely want to change their money do so. But look, we need to see the cost benefit in terms of how much it costs to print this vis-a-vis the savings. Many of them are not going to be financial, but it could be social, fighting corruption, you know, maybe frustrating kidnapping. As we hear yesterday, kidnappers, some of the persons kidnapped a few days ago. Today, actually, they are demanding for payment in new currency. So this change will not solve our incompetence in dealing with security.
Right. All right, let's bring Philip Isiakpo back. Well, the CBN governor says all of this really is in preparation for a cashless society or cashless economy, if you like. And the question is, why spend so much money to redesign? Well, some actually say it's a remodification, not necessarily a redesigning of the currency. Why spend so much if we're still going to, at the end of the day, go full force into a cashless society? Philip, okay, we hear Philip Isiakpo.
Okay, I think Sam Amadi can take that question.
Yes, I mean, respond to that. And how necessary is it really to have control over the amount of currency in circulation?
Well, the CBN Act provides for these powers that central bank can redenominate the naira, change the currency. It has the power with approval of the president to do so. And so that means that it's expected that from time to time there will be change of currency, especially when the central banker thinks that there is a run on the currency, or thinks that there's some dangerous counterfeiting cartel developing around it. It can change it. Always, it's about cost benefit. So I think, yes, the fact that we're moving into a cashless society, and the central bank has been rolling that out for quite a long time, does not mean that we're going to be cash free. I mean, there will be cash transactions, and we still have our currency. So redesigning it could have good social reasons to do that, could have economic reasons, especially if we look at if we are not anywhere close to 100 to 1 million ratio of counterfeits, which is standard. We are still our currency is not one of the most counterfeited. I mean, you talk about the dollar, that is very, very much counterfeited globally. We don't have that menace. It's not a virus that you need to try to develop policy around. But the thing to say in support of this policy might be we are fixated about corruption, and we can throw the sink at the kitchen, everything against corruption, even though we're not winning the war. So the notion will be, look, maybe some politicians will be stuck. EFC says, look, they're tracking a few governors they think have a large collection of currency, and they're tracking when they bring it to the system. So the question is, if it is true that we're going to do that, then if it is true that we are going to have we are able to track these stolen funds, quote unquote, and therefore this leads to prosecution and getting money back to government, that might be added advantage. But ultimately, some people see it as cosmetics. I mean, Elon Musk is reportedly to have tweeted that, you know, he's probably going to take over Snapchat to stop Nigeria's, you know, cosmetic rebranding of the currency. I mean, they're making a joke. Because the question is, look, this looks more like a makeover in terms of color and less of a redesign, because the same character, the same national icons that are still there, the same lettering still remain, but maybe the governor is saying we've put in inbuilt, you know, codes that make it
that
difficult.
Cannot be broken, and they're saying that it is lighter.
It's lighter
in weight and the rest. Yeah.
The question is, at this level of serious economic calamity we're going through, is this the best use of policy, attention, resources? And that's why we need more disclosures on the financial cost of this transaction.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much, Sam, for your submission there. Okay, let's go back to our Lagos studios now, where Philip Isiakpo is there. Philip, when you look at the CBN governor's submission, it said with the new currency, the enforcement or the propagation of the cashless policy is going to be nationwide, and is very upbeat about that being very achievable, with more than 1 million, you know, cash points that can take deposits and the rest. But where does this leave the itinerary trader, the farmer, the rural, you know, small business holders and the rest, where cash is the main means of their transaction, their daily transactions and the rest?
You have to look back into history, you know, and then that's where you find this, call it discrepancies in terms of this push for cashless policy. You know, it's been on for more than, I think, up to 20 years or more, you know, that the central bank has been pushing for a cashless society. And it hasn't really worked, because what we have found, you know, with when the CBN came up with this policy, is to say that we have 80% of currency in circulation outside the banking system. And it has gone on for many years, you know, pushing cashless. Then you look at the economy. If you look at the economy, is basically still a cash, infused economy. So many things are done, you know, through cash. Transactions are done with cash, and because of that, the nature of the economy, it is difficult to see how the central bank can do this. But you can give it to the central bank in terms of wanting to use this to pull in the cash that it believes is outside the banking system. It is also true that the central bank must have seen that after the announcement, perhaps a lot of money did come in, you know, into the banking system. They haven't told us exactly what has happened in terms of how much has come into the system, you know, following the announcement of the policy. I would suspect that the volume that came in must have given rise to the decision to quickly get on with it. You know, there must have been some kind of satisfaction that enough has come into the banking system, or into the purview of the central bank for them to bring forward the policy and to release, as they did today, the new currency notes. But there are structural issues. You know, the economy is such that there are so many issues that make the economy not to be cashless, in terms of how the central bank has been pursuing this for so many years. And those are the issues that they need to deal with. You know, you have an economy that is largely trader-driven, transaction-driven, you know, and a lot of those transactions are outside the banking system. And then when you look at the volume of trade that goes on, you know, outside so let's say outside the cities, you'll be amazed the amount of cash that goes on there, and where the isn't access to the banking system, or this, even though you talk about this agent banking that is going on, you know, do they have enough? Are there enough banking agent bankers all over the place to make this cashless situation, you know, to work? You know, and then you then have the cultural issues in terms of the number of people that conduct their transactions with cash, and those people who believe that they need to see their money, you know, and then you have the issues that they face when they go to the to banks to carry out transactions. Those are the issues that they need to try to sort out. You know, there are many issues that they need to sort out before the push for cashless policy can come into effect seriously.
And Philip, before we let you go, it would be nice to know exactly what those things that should be in place, you know, for Nigeria to be fully ready for cashless economy. And from all indication, if the you know, currency in circulation is not in the coffers or in the vaults of the bank by January 31, 2.7 trillion naira, we're told, would go to waste, would be totally useless. So how best can this, you know, be managed in a way that Nigeria doesn't lose too much?
Let me take the second question. You know, the amount of money that you have, you know, I mean, given the time frame, the CBN has said they've given enough time for money to be pulled in, you know, but you need to recognize that there is legitimate money and there is illegitimate money, you know, in circulation. So which one do you want to pull in? You know, which one are you interested in? Are you ensuring that are you going to ensure that if illegitimate money comes in, what are you going to do with those people who have illegitimate money? So there's that problem, you know, with illegitimate money that is in circulation. You know, if that money doesn't come in, I don't think anybody should be bothered, because illegitimate money is illegitimate money anyway. You know, but for those who have legitimate money and might not find the time long enough for that to happen, I think the central bank will need to find ways to be able to accommodate them. Because there will be, for instance, even though they talk about agent banking in rural areas or in different parts of the country that can attend to monies that are not in the city centers, you still they need to widen the agencies that are supposed to be able to receive money. For instance, I haven't heard them talk about microfinance banks, for instance, who are supposed to be very close to people perhaps in the rural areas or in villages and other places that they operate in. You know, so there's need to widen that scope and to see how this system can work, you know, for those people who have legitimate money, who are far removed from the city centers, can bring in their money, you know, because if people are still afraid or still concerned, or they have cultural issues with the banking system or approaching the banks, they must have some ways that they can be attended to, you know, by right. What I mean, the expansion of these sources. Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Isiakpo. Philip Isiakpo is the publisher of Business AM and Arise News analyst, associate professor of law, Sam Amadi. You know, Ngozi, I was just wondering what will happen to the Owambe parties and the rest. You know, are they going to be spraying the old notes quickly and get people to go quickly deposit them? You know,
these are the people that Murphy are going after, those who want to circumvent the economy.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Oh yes. So hopefully
it will be taken care of. Yeah.